to have this conversation with me this evening, in the first half of our program, I have Carolyn Taylor. Carolyn Taylor is a photographer and a cancer survivor. Welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you so much for having me.
You have a unique story.
Yes, I guess
and
I do.
we really are very interested in hearing your story and what you're doing as a result of having been diagnosed with 2 different forms of cancer. What you're doing to help others. So tell us a little about you and your story.
Okay, great. In 2006, I was diagnosed with ovarian and endometrial cancers. I was incredibly fortunate because I was diagnosed at a very early stage of the disease. After I recovered, I really felt compelled to help others that weren't as lucky as I was. In 2010, I entered a British Airways contest that, in fact, I won, and that gave me 10 international flights anywhere in the world. And I used those flights to document the global face of cancer. So I traveled from March 2010 to March 2011, over 100,000 miles, and over 4.5 months to 15 different countries, interviewing, photographing cancer patients, cancer survivors, caregivers, and healthcare professionals in an attempt to show the global face of cancer in the world.
Well, you said you were diagnosed with 2 primary cancers. Were you diagnosed with both at the same time?
Same time. They were both stage 1, stage 1B ovarian and stage 1 uterine.
Now, what happened to you? What symptoms did you have? What led you to getting the the test that diagnosed these cancers?
Well, I was very lucky because I was had no symptoms yet. So, but I was a very compliant patient. My mother had breast cancer at 24, and her mother had passed away from breast cancer, and her mother's mother had some sort of female cancer that we're not even sure of. So I was very diligent about my checkups, going to the doctor all the time, and I had a great OBGYN who really just did thorough exams on me all the time.
So your mother was diagnosed with cancer, and your mother said to you, her mother died of cancer, so you
she lived with us. I watched her, took care of her. I was 11 years old.
Oh, so you knew your grandmother, you knew she had cancer. And what kind of conversation did your mother have with you that led you to being so vigilant?
Well, my mother was really vigilant about her continued health care. So she just instilled that in us from when we were young. If you're ill, you go to the doctor. You don't wait, you just go and you get it taken care of. And you also need to be in charge of your own health care because you're the most important person. You know your body better than anyone else. So, really important to take charge of your own health care.
And so, boy, that is really good. Now, your mother is she alive?
She's 83 now.
She's 83 years old. Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit. So you won this contest. You got this 10 trips internationally.
Yeah.
What led you? What it is about what happened to you that led you to want to go to other parts of the world rather than staying right here in the States? To document these various forms of...
Well, I really wanted to show that, photographically document this global face of cancer, but I wanted to show that we're all intrinsically linked through cancer, that it doesn't matter your race, religion, economic status, your nationality, we're all together in the battle against cancer. So that was the premise of it, and British Airways is an international. It had to do with the program also that British Airways was offering, and it just all kind of came together.
Oh, so I see.
But also my surgeon, my oncologist, traveled around the world through Mount Sinai, his program, doing surgery, and he would tell me, every 2 months you have to see your oncologist at the beginning. He would tell me about where he went. I was like, well, how can I help these people,
Do you mind me asking how old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was 43.
You were 43. Now you said your mother was diagnosed at age 21?
24.
And she's now how old?
83.
80?
So, yeah. She'll be 84 this year, so yeah, she's almost a 60-year survivor.
I didn't know that 60 years ago we knew anything about treating,
she had a really, a radical mastectomy that was really debilitating to her and really difficult, but she did survive. It is a pretty amazing story.
Okay, we're going to show some images of people who have, who you have photographed people who have had cancer
Yep.
and some caregivers.
Yes.
And we're going to tell our audience very briefly about some of these people. So we're going to start with image number 1. And this, tell us briefly about her.
This is Armala Gupta, and she's a great inspiration to me. She was diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's when she was 33 years old.
Okay.
And she survived the Hodgkin's, and she was treated, actually she's from India, but she was treated in Canada. She was there studying to get her doctorate. She went back to India and started the first cancer support group in the country.
So she went back, she went to India?
She went home to India.
Okay.
She's from India. She was actually studying in Canada, and that's where she received her treatment. So she was so impressed by the cancer support groups in Canada that she went home and started the first.
And she was
cancer
under
support
33
group.
years old.
She was 33 years old, and she was stage 4 lymphoma, or Hodgkin's, sorry.
She was stage 4.
She was stage 4.
And she's still alive?
She's still alive, and you know, doing incredible things to help people in India.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So as we show these images, we're only going to keep them up on the screen for a very short time so people can just see the image, and then we're going to take them down and talk about them. So image number 2 is your mom.
That's my mom. Yeah.
Yes. Dorothy Kapika.
This was just a few years ago. She looks
Yes.
pretty good for 83. She was probably 80 in this photo.
And now we want to talk about her because, as we said, she was diagnosed with breast cancer at age 24. What kind of, besides the radical mastectomy, and for the audience who want to say a radical mastectomy is removal of the breast, all the breast tissue, and what else? Lymph nodes?
Lymph nodes, pretty much everything. Back then it was really radical. You know, they said they scrape you down to your ribs, you know, really to get the tissue off. So, you know, really difficult.
But she has survived for 60 years.
She has. There was no other treatment available to her at that point either. So
now, when Dr. Sanft joined us, we're going to talk about if the fact that your grandmother and your mother had cancer might be responsible for the fact that you also had cancer at age 43.
Possibly.
Had the doctor said anything?
Yeah, I was tested for the BRCA gene, but I tested negative actually. But they consider me BRCA identical because of my family history.
Okay, and we want to say BRCA1 and BRCA2 are 2 genes that have been found to be genetic carriers of the for cancer, and it doesn't necessarily mean breast cancer. It can be if you're a BRCA1 and 2 positive, you can be ovarian, prostate cancer. For
my father had prostate cancer also.
So you had cancer on both sides of your family from more than one generation.
Right. So I also pretty much knew I had a very good chance of having cancer.
Which
so that's
is
why I
why
was
you're
more
so
diligent.
vigilant. Yes, and we want to say as we go along with this program, we are trying to share as much as we can with the audience to say it is important that you know your family's medical history and that you be vigilant and attentive to your own care because you never know what you have inherited down the line.